The bride was trembling before she ever said the vow. Sophia Vale noticed it from the edge of the aisle, beneath an arch of white orchids and glass chandeliers hanging above the Monaco coastline. The sea glittered behind the private resort like crushed diamonds, and 500 guests in couture gowns and tailored tuxedos watched the ceremony with champagne in their hands. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Sophia had built her career on noticing what other people missed. A misplaced rose, a nervous mother, a groom checking his watch too often. But this was different. The bride's fingers were locked around her bouquet, as if the flowers were the only thing keeping her upright. Then Sophia saw it, a corner of aged parchment hidden deep between the white roses. At first, she thought it was a love note, some sentimental surprise from the groom. But the paper was old, sealed with black wax, and tucked so carefully that no florist could have placed it there by accident. Sophia stepped forward quietly. The bride looked at her with terrified eyes. "Don't," the bride whispered, but the priest had already turned. "Your vows." The bride's hand shook as Sophia carefully pulled the parchment free. The entire resort seemed to fall silent. The bride unfolded the note and read one sentence aloud. "Blood must answer blood before midnight." A crack split the sky. For one suspended second, nobody understood what had happened. Then the groom's white jacket bloomed red. The bride screamed. The groom collapsed at the altar. Champagne glasses shattered across marble floors. Guests surged from their seats. Armed security rushed toward the stage. Somewhere above the cliffs, gulls scattered from the sound of the sniper's shot. Sophia froze with the blood-stained parchment in her hand. Then the gates of the resort exploded open. Black SUVs poured into the wedding courtyard like a funeral procession. Men in dark suits stepped out with weapons beneath their jackets. And last came him, Luca Moretti, the most feared mafia boss in Europe. He walked through the chaos like it belonged to him. Tall, controlled, dressed in black, with cold eyes that made powerful men lower their heads. He did not look at the dead groom. He did not look at the screaming bride. He looked straight at Sophia, at the parchment in her hand, then at her face. Something dark moved behind his expression. Recognition, fear, possession. He crossed the aisle slowly, while everyone else backed away. Sophia should have run. Instead, she stood there, unable to breathe, as Luca Moretti stopped inches from her and took the vow from her fingers. His voice was quiet. "No one leaves." The bride sobbed behind them. A senator shouted for his guards. A billionaire tried to push past Luca's men. Luca did not raise his voice. "Seal the island." His bodyguards moved instantly. The resort gates locked. Helicopters were grounded. Boats at the private marina were seized. Cell signals died one by one until 500 of the richest people in Europe were trapped inside paradise with a dead groom, a hidden vow, and a mafia boss who looked at Sophia as if she had just awakened something buried inside him. Sophia forced herself to speak. "I'm only the wedding planner." Luca's eyes lowered to her trembling hands. "No," he said. "You are the reason this wedding became a war." Sophia had planned weddings for royalty, billionaires, politicians, and people whose names were never printed in newspapers. She knew how to calm hysterical brides, negotiate with impossible mothers, and turn disaster into elegance before anyone noticed. But she had never planned for murder. Within minutes, the white orchid aisle was covered in blood. The bride had been carried into a private suite under guard. The groom's body remained beneath the altar until Luca's men photographed every angle. Guests whispered names Sophia had only heard in rumors. Bellini, Voss, Drakov, Laurent, Moretti. The 5 families, Europe's invisible kings. And somehow, one hidden vow had brought them all to Monaco. Sophia stood near the fountain, still in her pale silk dress, watching Luca command men twice his age with nothing more than a glance. His calm terrified her more than the weapons. A man had died in front of him, and Luca looked less shocked than prepared. When Sophia tried to step away, one of his guards blocked her. "I need to check on my staff," she said. The guard did not move. Luca turned from across the courtyard, as if he had heard her through the noise. "Let her pass." The guard obeyed. Sophia walked toward him, anger rising through her fear. "You can't keep people here." "I already have. This is a private resort, not a prison." "It became a prison the moment a sniper used your ceremony as a stage." "My ceremony?" His gaze sharpened. "Your flowers, your schedule, your aisle. Your hands were the last to touch the vow before it was read." Sophia swallowed. "You think I did this? I think everyone here is lying." "And me?" His eyes moved over her face slowly, too slowly. "I haven't decided what you are." The words should have felt insulting. Instead, they felt intimate in the worst possible way, like he was not only studying her guilt, but memorizing her fear. A scream cut through the courtyard. One of the guests had disappeared. Then another. A German banker was found in the wine cellar with his throat cut. A security guard vanished from the marina. The groom's brother locked himself in a bathroom and refused to come out, only for Luca's men to find the room empty, the window open, and a blood mark on the sill. The island had been sealed, which meant the killer was still inside. By sunset, the resort no longer looked like a wedding venue. It looked like a beautiful hostage scene. White roses floated in the pool. Guests huddled beneath gold balconies. Helicopter blades sat silent on the rooftop pad. Armed men stood near every exit while storm clouds rolled in from the sea. Sophia moved through the chaos, trying to keep people calm, because it was the only thing stopping her from breaking apart. Then Luca found her in the bridal preparation room. She was alone, staring at the bride's second gown hanging untouched beside a wall of mirrors. "You should not be alone," he said. Sophia turned. "You keep saying that like you care." "I don't care." "Then why are two of your men outside my door?" His jaw tightened. "Because whoever planted that vow expected you to find it." The room felt colder. Sophia looked at the mirror, where Luca's reflection stood behind hers, dark and still. "Why would anyone involve me?" Luca stepped closer. "Because you see details." "That's my job." "No," he said. "That is your danger." She turned to face him. "You know something." "I know many things." "About me?" For the first time, his silence answered too quickly. Sophia's pulse changed. Before she could press him, the lights went out. The resort plunged into darkness. A woman screamed in the hallway. Luca moved before Sophia even registered the sound. His hand closed around her wrist, firm and warm, pulling her behind him. Not gentle, not cruel, protective in a way that felt practiced. Gunfire erupted from the corridor. The mirror exploded. Sophia gasped as glass rained around them. Luca shoved her behind a marble vanity and drew a gun from beneath his jacket. He fired twice into the dark hallway. Someone hit the floor. Sophia covered her ears, breath tearing in her chest. Luca crouched in front of her. "Look at me." She shook her head. "Sophia." The sound of her name in his voice cut through the panic. She looked up. His face was inches from hers. Blood marked his cheek from the shattered mirror, but his eyes were steady. "You do not move unless I move," he said. "You breathe when I tell you to breathe. You stay behind me. I don't take orders from criminals." His mouth barely moved. "You will tonight." Then he lifted her into his arms as another bullet tore through the room. Sophia clutched his shoulders as he carried her through smoke and broken glass, his body shielding hers while his men stormed the corridor. Her face pressed against his chest. Beneath the scent of gunpowder and rain, he smelled like cedar, cold air, and expensive danger. Outside, lightning cracked over Monaco. Guests watched as Luca Moretti walked out of the dark hotel corridor, carrying the wedding planner in his arms, blood on his shirt, fury in his eyes. And for the first time that night, Sophia saw fear on other people's faces that had nothing to do with the killer. They were afraid of what Luca would do for her. He took her to the resort's private medical suite. She insisted she could walk. He ignored her. A doctor stitched a cut on her shoulder while Luca stood by the window, speaking softly into a phone in Italian. His voice was controlled, but his hand was clenched at his side. Sophia watched him. Every instinct told her to hate him. He had trapped everyone, threatened everyone, turned a wedding disaster into a mafia tribunal. And yet, when the bullets came, he had not hesitated. He had protected her before protecting himself. When the doctor left, Sophia pulled her torn sleeve back over her shoulder. Why did they shoot at me? Luca did not turn. Because you touched the vow. That's not enough. No. Then tell me the rest. He finally faced her. The storm outside threw shadows across his face. The vow was written in an old code used by the 5 families. It is not a wedding vow. It is an execution command. Sophia's stomach tightened. For the groom? For anyone named by blood. But there was no name. Luca looked at her for a long moment. There was. She remembered the parchment. The ink. The final symbol beneath the sentence. A small black rose. Sophia whispered, "What does the rose mean?" Luca's face hardened. "It means the Bellini heir is alive." She frowned. The Bellini heir died 28 years ago. That is what the families were told. A strange chill moved through her. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Luca stepped closer. "Because your mother's maiden name was Bell." Sophia stopped breathing. Nobody knew that. Her mother had died when Sophia was 6. Her father had raised her quietly in London, far from wealth, far from violence, far from anything that resembled the world standing outside her door. "My mother was a schoolteacher. Your mother was Isabella Bellini." "No." She ran from her family after refusing an arranged marriage that would have united the Bellini and Voss empires. She disappeared, changed her name, and had a daughter. Sophia stood too quickly. Pain shot through her shoulder. "You're lying. I wish I were. You don't know me." His eyes darkened. "I have known about you for 10 years. The words hit harder than the gunfire. Sophia stared at him. "What?" Luca looked away, but not fast enough. She saw something raw slip through. "Guilt. I was ordered to find the Bellini heir," he said. "I found you instead." "And what? You watched me? To make sure no one else did." Her voice broke with anger. "You stalked me. I protected you. You watched my life without my permission. I kept you alive." Sophia stepped toward him. "Did you know my father died because of this?" Luca went still. The storm beat against the windows. "My father was killed in a car accident," she said. "At least that's what I was told." Luca's silence destroyed the lie. Sophia backed away. "No. Sophia, no. Don't say my name like you have the right." His expression tightened, but he did not move closer. "Your father was murdered because he refused to reveal where your mother hid the Bellini documents." "What documents?" "The inheritance contract. The one thing that proves you are the rightful Bellini heir." She laughed once, hollow and disbelieving. "I plan weddings. I choose napkin colors. I calm brides when their mothers hate the dress. I am not an heir to anything. You are heir to a criminal empire worth billions. I don't want it. Neither did your mother. And look what happened to her." The words hung between them. Luca's eyes softened for half a second. Then the door opened. His second-in-command stepped inside. "Boss, we found something in the groom's suite." Luca did not look away from Sophia. "What?" "A nursery." Sophia blinked. "A what?" The suite smelled like expensive cologne, blood and roses. The groom, Julien Laurent, had been heir to one of the 5 families. His wedding to Elena Voss was supposed to prevent a war. Sophia had been hired through 3 layers of agencies, paid more than any wedding planner should ever be paid. and given no room to ask questions. Now she stood in Julian's private suite beside Luca, staring at a hidden room behind a false wall. Inside was a child's nursery, cream-colored crib, silver mobile, tiny clothes folded in drawers. On the wall hung a framed ultrasound. Sophia's throat tightened. "Elena is pregnant," she whispered. Luca picked up a small envelope from the crib. His face changed. "Not choc. Calculation." Then anger. Sophia saw the name written across the envelope. For Sophia Vale. Her hand trembled as she opened it. Inside was a photograph of a newborn baby, wrapped in a pale blanket. On the back, written in her mother's handwriting, were 4 words: "Protect her from Voss." Sophia's knees weakened. Luca caught her before she fell. She hated that her body trusted his hands before her mind did. "This doesn't make sense," she said. Luca looked at the photograph. "It makes too much sense." The baby in the picture was Sophia. The nursery had not been built for Elena's child. It had been built as a message. Someone wanted Sophia to know she had been hidden. Someone wanted Luca to see she had been found. And someone wanted all 5 families trapped on the island. When the truth came out, by midnight, the guests were divided by family name and fear. Luca turned the grand ballroom into an interrogation chamber. Gold tables were pushed aside. Chandeliers glowed above armed men. The wedding cake sat untouched near the windows, 6 tiers of sugar roses beneath bullet cracks in the glass. Sophia stood beside Luca because he refused to let her out of his sight. "You cannot drag me around like evidence," she whispered. "You are evidence. I am a person." His eyes shifted to her mouth, then back to her eyes. "I am painfully aware." The sentence landed between them like something forbidden. Before she could answer, Matteo Voss entered the ballroom. He was handsome, in a polished, poisonous way, with silver hair, a tailored white suit, and eyes that never smiled. Elena's uncle, the man who had arranged the marriage, the man who looked at Sophia as if she were a valuable object, finally recovered. "So this is Isabella's daughter," Matteo said. Sophia's stomach turned. Luca stepped slightly in front of her. Matteo noticed. "How sentimental, Luca. I thought the Moretti heart was buried with your father." Luca's voice was flat. "Speak to her again like she belongs to you, and I'll remove your tongue in front of your family." The ballroom fell silent. Sophia should have been horrified. Part of her was. Another part, a secret frightened part, felt the force of his protection like heat. Matteo smiled. "The girl is not yours." Luca's gaze never moved. "No." Then he looked at Sophia. His voice lowered. "But touch her, and you die as if she is." Sophia's breath caught. Matteo's smile faded. For the first time, Sophia saw the truth of Luca's power. It was not only violence, it was certainty. Every man in that room believed he would do exactly what he promised. Then, Elena, the bride, was brought in. Her veil was gone. Mascara stained her cheeks. She looked less like a mafia princess and more like a terrified young woman who had been dressed for sacrifice. Sophia felt her anger shift. Elena had known about the vow, but she was afraid too. Luca placed the parchment on the table. "Who gave this to you?" Elena shook her head. "If I tell you, he'll kill me." "Julian is already dead," Luca said. "Not him." Her eyes moved to Matteo. Matteo's face remained calm. Sophia stepped forward. "Elena, please." Luca glanced at her, warning. Sophia ignored him. "You knew the vow was in the bouquet. You told me not to unfold it." Elena began to cry. "I was told if I read it, Julian would confess." "Confess what?" "That he had hidden the Bellini heir." Sophia felt the room tilt. Julian Laurent had known about her. "He wanted to protect you," Elena whispered. "He said the wedding was the only place all 5 families would be forced to witness the truth." Luca's jaw tightened. Sophia looked at him. You knew Julian. He contacted me 3 weeks ago. And you didn't tell me? I didn't know if it was real. You mean you didn't know if I was useful? His eyes flashed. That is not what you are to me. The words came too fast, too honest. The whole ballroom seemed to hear them. Sophia looked away first. Then the chandeliers flickered. A phone rang. Not a guest's phone. Not a staff phone. A black phone placed in the center of the table by one of Luca's men. Luca answered. A distorted voice filled the ballroom. Midnight approaches. Give us the Bellini girl, or the island burns. Sophia's blood went cold. Luca's face did not change. Come take her. The line went dead. 3 seconds later, the marina exploded. Flames rose outside the ballroom windows. Guests screamed and ducked as glass shook in its frames. The private yachts burned against the dark sea, turning Monaco's glittering coast into a wall of fire. Luca grabbed Sophia's hand. This time she did not pull away. They ran through the resort's back corridors while alarms screamed overhead. His men surrounded them, but Luca kept her close enough that his coat brushed her arm with every step. In a narrow hallway near the kitchens, Sophia slipped on spilled wine. Luca caught her by the waist. For one breath, they were too close. His hand was firm against her ribs. Her palms pressed against his chest. The world outside was burning, but all she could hear was his breathing. His eyes dropped to her lips. He almost touched her face. Almost. Then he released her like the nearness had burned him. Keep moving. His voice was rough now. Not cold. Rough. They reached an underground passage beneath the resort, used by staff to move supplies from the marina to the kitchens. Luca led her into a service tunnel lit by red emergency lights. Sophia pulled her hand free. Stop. Sophia. No. You keep deciding what I need to know. He turned. Behind him, the red lights made him look like a man carved from shadow and blood. You want truth? He said. Yes. The 5 families are not hunting you because of money. They are hunting you because your mother had proof that Matteo Voss murdered the old Bellini council and stole their roots, their banks, their judges. If you claim the Bellini name, his empire collapses. I don't want the name. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, not to men like him. She stepped closer, furious and shaking. And what about you? Are you different? Luca's silence was brutal. Sophia smiled bitterly. You found me 10 years ago. You watched me, protected me, lied to me. Did you ever plan to tell me? No. The honesty hurt more than a lie. Why? Because once you knew, you would become real to them. And what was I to you before? His eyes held hers. A ghost I could keep alive. Sophia's anger faltered it. There was something in his voice. Something older than obsession. What happened to you? She whispered. His expression closed. Do not make me human tonight. Before she could answer, footsteps echoed behind them. Luca shoved her behind him, but the man who emerged was not an assassin. It was her assistant, Mara. Sophia exhaled. Mara? Mara's face was pale, her dress torn, her hands raised. I'm sorry, she whispered. Sophia froze. Luca lifted his gun. Mara, Sophia said slowly. What did you do? Mara cried harder. They said they'd kill my brother. I only put the parchment in the bouquet. I didn't know Julian would die. I swear I didn't know. Sophia felt betrayal open inside her like a blade. Mara had worked with her for 4 years, had shared hotel rooms, airport delays, coffee before dawn, had held Sophia's hand after difficult clients, had known Sophia trusted her. You gave them my schedule, Sophia said. Mara sobbed. I had no choice. Luca's voice was deathly calm. There is always a choice. Mara looked at Sophia. He knows where the child is. Luca went still. Sophia frowned. What child? Mara looked terrified. Eleanor's baby isn't Julian's. The tunnel fell silent. It's Bellini blood, Mara whispered. A secret child, another heir. Luca's eyes sharpened. Sophia looked from Mara to Luca. Elena is carrying a Bellini child? No, Mara said. She already had him. At that exact moment, a gunshot struck Mara in the chest. Sophia screamed. Luca pulled her down as bullets ripped through the tunnel. Mara collapsed at Sophia's feet, blood spreading across the concrete. Sophia reached for her, but Luca dragged her back. She's gone. No, she's gone. His arms locked around her as she fought him, tears breaking loose. She hated Mara for betraying her, hated her for dying before explaining, hated Luca for being right, and hated herself for clinging to him when the tunnel filled with smoke. They escaped through an old wine cellar beneath the resort's north wing. Luca's men sealed the passage behind them, but not before one of the attackers shouted something in Russian. Drakov's soldiers. Another family had turned. War was no longer coming. It was already inside the resort. Luca took Sophia to a hidden safe room behind the resort chapel. It had no windows, one steel door, and monitors showing every corridor. The room smelled like candle wax and stone. Sophia sat on a narrow bench, shaking. Luca stood across from her, blood on his knuckles, phone in his hand, issuing orders as if emotion were a weakness he had locked outside. But when his call ended, he looked at her differently. Not like a suspect, not like a witness. Like the world had narrowed to the space where she was still breathing. "You're bleeding," she said. "It's not mine." She stared at the blood on his shirt. "That doesn't make me feel better." A faint shadow crossed his mouth. Not a smile, almost one. Then he reached into a cabinet and pulled out a clean black shirt. Sophia looked away as he unbuttoned the ruined one. She meant to keep looking away. She failed. His torso was marked by scars, bullet wounds, knife lines, old violence written into skin. But one scar on his ribs was different. Jagged, deep, familiar, in a way she could not explain. She stepped closer. "What is that?" Luca's body stilled. "An old debt." Sophia looked up. "My father had a scar like that." His eyes closed briefly. Then she knew. "You knew my father." Luca did not answer. "You said you found me 10 years ago." I lead. Her breath stopped. "I found you when you were 6. The room seemed to shrink. "After your father was attacked," Luca said, voice low. "He was still alive when my men reached the road. He gave me one instruction." Sophia's eyes burned. "What?" "Keep her ordinary." Her hand covered her mouth. Luca's mask cracked for one brief, devastating second. He knew the Mafia world would eat you alive. "So I erased your trail, paid for new documents, removed names from files, bought silence from men who deserved worse. I watched from a distance because I promised him you would never know." Sophia's tears fell. "My whole life was stolen from you," Luca said. "Yes, by them, by all of us." The honesty broke her anger into something more complicated. Luca stepped closer, then stopped himself. He always stopped himself, as if touching her was the one violence he would not allow. Sophia looked at him through tears. "And what did protecting me cost you?" His jaw tightened. "Nothing." "Liar." The word was soft. He looked at her then, and the room changed. "I killed my own uncle for selling your location." Sophia went still. "He raised me after my father died," Luca said. "He taught me power, loyalty, mercy only when useful. Then he sold a 6-year-old girl to Matteo Voss." His voice dropped. "So I put a bullet in him." Sophia should have stepped back. She didn't. "You did that for a child you didn't know." "I knew enough." "What?" "That you were innocent." His eyes lowered. "And later, when I saw who you became, innocence was no longer the only reason." The air between them became unbearable. Sophia whispered, "Luca." A knock struck the steel door. Both of them turned. His guard's voice came through. "Boss, Elena is missing." Luca swore under his breath. Sophia wiped her face. "Elena knows where the child is." "Probably. Then we need to find her." "We?" "Yes." "No." Sophia stood. "I am done being dragged, hidden, and protected without a voice." He stepped closer, anger flashing. "You are a target. I was a target before I knew my own name. You don't understand what men like Matteo do to women they cannot own. And you don't understand what it feels like to have every man in this story decide my life for me." That landed. Luca stared at her. The silence stretched. Then he opened the safe room door. "Stay behind me." Sophia almost smiled. "That's not agreement. It is the only version you're getting." They found Elena in the chapel. The wedding chapel overlooked the dark sea, its stained glass windows glowing with lightning. White flowers from the ceremony had been moved there for safekeeping, filling the aisle with ghostly beauty. Elena stood at the altar, in her blood-stained wedding gown, holding a small silver locket. Matteo stood beside her with a gun. At his feet sat a little boy, no older than 3, dark curls, wide eyes, silent terror. Sophia's heart stopped. The secret child. Matteo smiled when they entered. "There she is, Isabella's daughter, the little ghost who made everyone afraid." Luca raised his gun. Matteo pressed his weapon to Elena's side. "Careful." Sophia stared at the child. "Whose son is he?" "Elena Sobed, Julian's brother. Bellini blood, hidden since birth." Matteo's smile thinned. An unfortunate complication. Sophia understood then. Matteo did not only need Sophia dead, he needed every Bellini heir gone. The child looked at Sophia, and something ancient moved inside her. Not memory, instinct, family. Luca shifted slightly, putting his body between Sophia and Matteo's gun. Matteo noticed. "You are embarrassing yourself, Moretti." "For a wedding planner?" Luca's voice was calm. "For here." Sophia's chest tightened. Matteo laughed, softly. "You think devotion makes you noble? You have killed more men than anyone in this chapel." "Yes," Luca said, "and I will kill one more if you don't move away from the child." Lightning flashed. For a second, Luca looked like an avenging statue beneath the broken saints in the stained glass. Matteo's men appeared from the side doors. Too many. Luca's guards raised their weapons. Sophia felt the chapel become a heartbeat away from massacre. Then she did the only thing no one expected. She stepped out from behind Luca. His voice cut low. "Sophia." She ignored him. Matteo's eyes brightened. "Smart girl. I'll go with you," Sophia said. Luca went completely still. "No." She looked at Matteo. "Let Elena and the boy leave. I'll go with you." Matteo tilted his head. "You would trade yourself for a child you met 30 seconds ago." Sophia's voice trembled, but did not break. "No, I'm trading myself for the truth." Luca grabbed her wrist. His grip was controlled, but his eyes were not. "Do not do this." Sophia looked at him. For the first time, she saw fear in Luca Moretti. Not anger, fear. "If I matter as much as everyone says," she whispered, "then let me choose what that means." His hand tightened, then slowly released. Matteo smiled. "Beautiful." Sophia walked toward him. Every step felt like stepping out of the life she thought she had lived. When she reached the altar, Matteo seized her arm. Luca's face became something terrifying. Elena grabbed the child and ran toward Luca's guards. For 1 second, Sophia thought it had worked. Then Matteo pulled her against him and whispered into her ear, "Your mother begged less." The words shattered something in her. Sophia drove her elbow into his ribs. Matteo cursed. Luca moved. The chapel exploded into gunfire. Sophia fell behind the altar as bullets tore through flowers, candles, and glass. Luca crossed the chapel like death itself, firing with brutal precision. One man fell through a row of pews. Another crashed into the baptismal font. Elena screamed as Luca's guards shielded the child. Matteo grabbed Sophia by the hair and dragged her toward the side door. Pain shot through her scalp. Then Luca was there. He slammed Matteo into the stone wall so hard the gun flew from his hand. Matteo pulled a knife. Luca caught his wrist. The two men struggled beneath a statue of the Virgin Mary, violence and blood framed by candlelight. Sophia reached for the fallen gun. Matteo saw. He kicked Luca's injured ribs and lunged toward her. Sophia lifted the weapon with shaking hands. Matteo smiled. "You won't shoot." Sophia's finger trembled. "No," Luca said behind him, voice ragged. "She won't." Matteo turned just enough. Luca drove the knife into Matteo's shoulder and slammed him down against the altar steps. Sophia dropped the gun. Luca stood over Matteo, breathing hard, blood running down his side. Matteo laughed through pain. "You think this ends with me? The families will tear her apart. She is a crown without an army." Luca's eyes went black. "She has mine." Then the chapel doors burst open. Representatives from the remaining families entered. Bellini loyalists, Laurent guards, Dracoff defectors, men who had waited to see who would survive before choosing sides. Sophia stood in the wreckage of the chapel, dress torn, hair loose, blood on her hands that was not all hers. Luca turned to face them. "This man murdered Julian Laurent," he said, "planted the vow, ordered the attack on the marina, tried to kill the Bellini heirs." Matteo spat blood. "Prove it." Sophia reached into her dress and pulled out the locket Elena had dropped. Inside was a tiny drive. Elena whispered. Julian said only Sophia would know to look inside something beautiful. Sophia almost laughed through tears. A wedding detail, a hidden secret, a final message from a dead groom. Luca's man plugged the drive into a chapel monitor used for wedding videos. The screen lit up. Julian Laurent appeared, alive, recorded before the ceremony. "If you are watching this, I am dead." The chapel went silent. Julian's voice trembled, but his gaze stayed steady. Matteo Voss killed the Bellini council. He murdered Isabella Bellini and her husband. He hunted their daughter for 22 years. Her name is Sophia Vale. She is the rightful Bellini heir. And if I die today, it is because I tried to bring the truth into the light. Sophia covered her mouth. The video continued. The child Elena protects is also Bellini blood. If Sophia chooses to walk away, protect her. If she chooses to claim the name, follow her. The old war ends with her. The screen went black. No one moved. Then one by one, Bellini loyalists lowered to one knee. Sophia stared, horrified. "No," she whispered. Luca stood beside her, not kneeling, not pushing, simply present. The most dangerous man in Europe waited for her choice. Sophia looked at the child in Elena's arms, at the dead groom's blood still staining the wedding flowers, at Matteo, finally afraid, at Luca, bleeding silently, because he had stepped between her and every bullet meant for her. She had spent her life creating beautiful endings for other people. Now the ugliest truth in Europe was asking her to write one of her own. Sophia lifted her chin. "I will not lead a family built on fear." Matteo smiled weakly. Then Sophia looked at him. "But I will bury the men who used fear to murder mine." Luca's eyes changed. Not pride exactly. Devotion. The kind that frightened her because it felt permanent. By dawn, Matteo Voss was taken alive. Luca wanted him dead. Sophia could see it in every line of his body. But she asked for something harder. A public confession. A trial before the families. A reckoning no bullet could erase. The island slowly reopened as Monaco police arrived under the quiet influence of men who owed Luca favors. Guests were escorted out under strict silence. Though Sophia knew the scandal would reach every capital by nightfall, The wedding had become a coronation and a funeral. Sophia stood alone on the resort terrace as the sun rose over the sea. Her dress was ruined. Her shoulder ached. Her heart felt like something rebuilt from broken glass. Below, black SUVs lined the entrance like shadows. She sensed Luca before she heard him. "You should be resting," he said. "You say that a lot. You ignore it every time." She looked at him. His side had been bandaged beneath a fresh shirt. He looked pale. Though he would clearly rather die than admit pain, Sophia turned back to the sea. "What happens now? The families will want a decision about whether I become Bellini." "Yes. And you?" His silence made her look at him. "What do you want?" Luca's expression tightened. "I want many things I have no right to want." The words moved through her slowly. Dangerous. Honest. She folded her arms against the morning cold. "Say one." His eyes held hers. "I want you somewhere no one can reach you." That sounds like a cage. It would have windows. Despite everything, she almost smiled. He stepped closer, but left space between them. "I want you angry," he said. "It means you're still fighting. I want you safe, even if you hate me for how I make it happen. I want every man who said your name with ownership to learn fear." His voice lowered. "And I want to touch you, Sophia. But not while you are standing in the ruins of the life I helped hide from you." Her breath caught. He looked away first. That restraint undid her more than any possession could have. "You confuse me," she whispered. "I confuse myself with you." The sea wind moved between them. Sophia stepped closer. Luca went still. She reached up and touched the cut on his cheek, the one from the shattered mirror. His eyes closed for a second, as if her touch hurt, as if it saved him. "You scare me," she said. "I know. I'm angry with you." "You should be. I don't know if I can trust you." His eyes opened. But she hated that he heard the word she had not said. "But when the bullets came, you were already in front of me." Luca's jaw moved. "I will always be in front of you." That's not a promise normal men make. I'm not a normal man." "No," she said softly. "You're not." For a moment, neither moved. Then his hand rose, slow enough to let her refuse. His fingers brushed her jaw with devastating care. The same hands that had killed for her touched her like she was something sacred. Sophia should have stepped back. Instead, she leaned into him. The kiss was not soft at first. It was restrained for one heartbeat, then broken open by everything they had survived. Fear, anger, blood, secrets, 10 years of distance collapsing beneath the Monaco sunrise. Luca held her carefully, as if fighting every instinct to claim too much too soon. When they parted, his forehead rested against hers. "I am not good for you," he whispered. Sophia closed her eyes. "Then become better." His breath shook once. Barely, but she felt it. 3 months later, the Bellini mansion reopened for the first time in 22 years. It stood on a cliff above Lake Como, candlelit and restored, its halls no longer filled with ghosts but with guards, lawyers, witnesses, and family records pulled from hidden vaults across Europe. Sophia did not become a mafia queen, not in the way the families expected. She dissolved accounts used for trafficking, exposed judges, bought protection for women who had been used as bargaining chips, turned blood money into witness houses, hospitals, and escape routes. The old men called her naive. Then Luca visited them. They stopped. He never softened to the world. Only around Sophia did something in him change. Not loudly, never publicly, but she noticed. He asked before assigning guards. He told her the truth, even when it made her hate him. He stood beside her in meetings instead of in front of her, though his hand always hovered near his gun when someone raised their voice. And every night, one black SUV waited outside her window, not hidden anymore. She once opened the balcony door at midnight and found Luca standing in the rain below, coat soaked, face lifted toward her light. "You have keys," she called down. His voice carried through the rain. "You said cages frighten you. I'm learning doors." So she let him in, not because he demanded it, because he waited. The final trial of Matteo Voss took place in an abandoned cathedral outside Milan, where the 5 families gathered under armed truce. He confessed because Luca had found every secret he had buried, and Sophia had made sure the world could hear them. When it ended, Matteo looked at Sophia with hatred. "You think love will save you from men like us?" Sophia looked at Luca across the aisle. He stood in black beneath broken, stained glass, scarred, feared, and watching her like she was the only law he still obeyed. "No," she said, "love won't save me from men like you." Then she turned back to Matteo. "It taught me not to be afraid of them." That night, Sophia returned to Monaco. The resort had reopened under a different name, but the chapel remained closed. The owners wanted to demolish it. Sophia bought it instead. She stood in the aisle, where Julian had died, where the hidden vow had been read, where her old life had ended. Luca entered quietly behind her. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Sophia took a folded piece of parchment from her coat. Luca's eyes darkened. "What is that?" "A vow." His body went rigid. She smiled faintly. "Not that kind." She unfolded it and read softly. "I vow never to belong to fear again. I vow never to let blood decide the limits of my life. I vow to remember the dead without becoming their grave." Her voice trembled. Then she looked at him. "And I vow to love the man who stood between me and the world. Only as long as he remembers I am not something to own." Luca stared at her. For once, the feared Mafia boss had no answer. Then he walked to her slowly and lowered himself to one knee. Sophia's breath caught. He took her hand, pressing his lips against her knuckles. "I vow," he said, voice rough, "to spend the rest of my life earning the trust I stole. I vow to tell you the truth before it becomes a weapon. I vow to protect your freedom as fiercely as I protect your life." His eyes lifted to hers. "And if the world comes for you again, I will burn my empire before I let it touch you." Sophia smiled through tears. "That still sounds dangerous." Luca stood, pulling her gently closer. "It is." His hand brushed her hair back from her face. "But this time, you get to choose." Outside, the Monaco sea crashed against the cliffs. The chapel windows glowed with the last light of dusk. Black SUVs waited beyond the gates, no longer trapping her inside, but guarding the road she had chosen. Sophia looked at the man everyone feared, the man who had lied to protect her, killed to save her, changed because loving her demanded it. Then she rose on her toes and kissed him beneath the ruined wedding arch. This time, no bullet came. No vow became a death sentence. No island was sealed. Only Luca's arms around her. Only the sea beyond the chapel. Only the dangerous, impossible beginning of a love story written in blood, truth, and the one promise neither of them would ever break. The wedding had ended in murder, but their vow began after the gunfire.